And now, broadcasting live from the Darkroom Studio at Craven Community College, it's In the Know.
Hey everybody, welcome to In the Know. I'm Craig Ramey, and joined with me is Megan Johnson.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're here every Thursday, 9 a.m., or sometimes a little bit later when we're having some fun in the studio with some things. We start a little bit later, but we're here. We've got a great show in store for everybody today. I hope you're having a great Thursday.
Thursday, March 23rd.
Tell me the date.
It's March 23rd,
Okay,
Thursday.
yeah.
So if you're watching this later on, because we can have that option with our YouTube as well as our website. So if you liked it, don't forget, like and share, okay?
Yep. Live on Facebook and YouTube. And we've got a special guest with us today.
We do.
Joining us at the end of the table, we've got Les Still from WCTI.
Good morning.
Hey guys, good morning.
Good
Or
morning.
in this case, it's almost my lunchtime.
Yeah. Good lunchtime to you, sir.
Yeah, he was sharing before we came on the air that that he was up at, his alarm goes off at 12:45.
12:45 in the morning.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really early.
We're really close to being exact opposites of the spectrum. That's close to when I'm going to bed.
See, well, that was me in college. I was
yeah.
always the night owl. I never thought I'd ever want to do a morning shift, and then all of a sudden started having kids, and works very well with kids.
Yeah. Very
Wow.
good. Yeah.
Very good.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming along and going on this wild ride that we have every Thursday morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I know that we can't throw it to the booth. Zanetta doesn't have a special iPad today, but good morning, Zanetta, and good morning, Eli.
Good
Thank you for being here.
Yep.
And you can see this fuzzy stuff that's right here in front of me. This Zanetta brought this in. Any wild guesses? Anybody want to know what this is?
Well, we know what it is.
Anybody want?
Right.
Yep. Zanetta?
Yeah.
What is the liquid? Is it just water?
Has water, honey, lime juice, and chia seeds.
Chia seeds. Today happens to be National Chia Day. Chia. Are you not going to join me?
No, that's perfect. How can you not think of that anytime you hear of a chia seed? Whatever health benefits it has,
It's got great health benefits, and
they're
that's
all
why I
out
can't.
the window. If
You go,
you
chia.
plant it on a whatever it is, pottery type head. And,
Yes.
And, yeah.
You with the paint with the little brush.
Yeah. Did you ever have one?
No, I've seen them.
Yeah.
I think I've probably given them as gifts before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is.
What's the guy with
entire
happy
business
trees?
model.
What's the happy tree guy?
Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. His is the best.
Yeah.
Because the sprouts go.
Yeah.
Makes his little hair. I also brought chia seeds in their other natural form. You can buy these in bulk. I got these at Harris Teeter, and they're tiny little itty bitty seeds, which I love. Let me tell you a little bit about chias. Okay, so they were revered by the Mayans and the Aztecs for their amazing healing powers and natural energy. Whoop, lost my earplug. Chia seeds have become a trusted staple for people around the world and can be enjoyed with many foods and beverages. You can almost add them to anything. Now, this is jelly-like,
It's a marketing ploy.
and this is not something I enjoy. Okay, I woke up this morning, and in my refrigerator, one of my children was making chia yogurt, as she refers to it, and it's oat milk and chia seeds. I don't know what else is in there, but it kind of separates and it's kind of jelly-like, and yeah. But she likes it. They enjoy it. My other daughter drinks it like that. So
This looks delicious.
Keep selling it.
yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about its benefits.
I don't mean to interrupt, but its brown color really makes me think this is going to be an exciting beverage. It's probably great, right? It's
So
probably
Zanetta's
great.
going to consume
Shake it?
this.
Am I going to explode?
No, Zanetta's going to consume this because it gives her that extra boost she likes before she goes running. She's got her running club tonight. Is that correct, Zanetta? Okay. So they're high in omega-3, antioxidants, fiber, complete protein. Chia seeds have a neutral flavor and can be added to virtually any recipe to boost the nutritional profile. Trust me on this. Nutritional facts. They're 8 times more omega-3s than salmon. That's a lot.
That is a lot. But how many do you have to eat?
I'm not there yet. 25% more fiber than flax seeds, 30% more antioxidants than blueberries, 2 times more potassium than bananas, and 6 times more calcium than milk. You want to know the serving size? 1 ounce is a serving size, and they have 140 calories.
Okay.
So 1 ounce is, these
But
are
is
tiny
1
and
ounce
light.
of chia seeds equal to 4 ounces of salmon, or do I still do? If I have to eat 4 ounces of chia seeds or 4 ounces of salmon, I'm going to eat the salmon.
I didn't bring that info. I did not bring that info.
I need
You
to
need to
know
Google
We
it.
need the conversion rate.
Yes. Yeah, we
chia
need
to salmon conversion rate.
We
Exactly.
need to Google. And yes, you may grow these at home, and then you can use the sprouts to put on salads and sandwiches.
Yes.
Yes, but not off your Bob Ross. You could just make your own. You can brought them this way.
Well, that's what they're missing with the chia, right?
Cha-cha-cha-chia.
Right. That's what they're missing.
That was the right pitch.
Yeah, I'm way off. Yeah. I added too many cha-cha-chas.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about the other World Day of, not National Day of. So, Netta, I know that you were having a little camera issue. Is it still, can you? Okay, you're good? All right. I can't hear anything, so you're going to have to interpret for me since my piece fell out. I don't know where. Can you see it?
I can.
You can see it?
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
So there's a reason why we're having Les here today is because it's World Meteorological Day. March 23rd, World Meteorological Day. We celebrate this date for the day that the World Meteorological Organization was formed in 1950.
WMO.
That's right. So we are grateful to have you here. We're going to learn a little bit more about meteorology, and because this day is for people like yourself to educate the public on meteorological stuff.
Science.
Yeah,
Science.
it is a science. I
It's
do
a
have a Bachelor of
science.
Science degree.
Yes. Well, it's kind of interesting you say that because a fun fact I did not know that Aristotle was considered to be the founder of meteorology.
Yep.
I did not know that.
Yep. He wrote a book called Meteorologica, and that's where they pay homage to him, calling
Was it in Latin?
meteorology.
No, Greek.
Probably Greek.
Greek. Okay.
And
He
so
was a
that's
Greek
where
philosopher.
the name for the science came from as well as
Yep.
his book. Yeah.
Yep. He what he tried to do was he tried to explain anything that was in the atmosphere, flew through the atmosphere. He called it a meteor. So a bird, a snowflake, a raindrop, it were all considered meteors, and we still continue with that as we go through the day today. When we talk about hydrometeors, whether it's a snowflake or a raindrop or whatever that we pick up on radar, going back to him, he was basically trying to explain the atmosphere at a very crude, rudimentary, without even, think about it. He did it, 2,000 years ago. We didn't have barometers or we didn't have any meteorological instruments. That wasn't until the 1600s when we had the scientific revolution.
Wow. Yeah, I did read that it was that sometimes it was even used astronomy.
Yep.
To navigate.
Anything that was in the sky.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Very good. So we want to talk about meteorological stuff like I talked about. So we're talking barometric pressures and jet streams and wind chill factors, cloud cover, chances of precipitation.
Oh, I hate that.
The chances of precipitation.
I hate pops. I understand the scientific side behind it, but here's the practical side. Here in eastern North Carolina, we know in the afternoon on the summertime we're going to get the sea breeze showers moving in from, starts along the coast, just inland Cape Carteret, and then by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon it's going to be Havelock, New Bern, and sometimes even all the way up to Greenville. But technically the definition of a probability of precipitation, it's a mathematical equation. So anywhere in our viewing area, which goes from northern Bertie County all the way down to Warsaw, all the way to down East Carteret County, Ocracoke, and all the way up to Hyde County. That's my box, if you will.
That's a big territory.
If I get 1/100th of an inch of rainfall measured anywhere in that box, I verify my pop. That's why I hate doing it.
Yeah, because I learned this recently as well. I didn't realize that was how it was calculated. Because everybody assumes if there's a 20% chance of rain, it means wherever I am, there's a 20% chance of rain in my day.
That's the other bad interpretation. Right. Is it where you are? Is it throughout the day?
Right.
It's why I hate using pop. I'd rather use more descriptive, isolated, ice scattered, numerous, something of that nature, more than a pop.
Right.
So.
Well, it did with what am I trying to say? With technology, with the change in technology.
You're struggling with today is a struggle with technology.
We are having issues with technology. That meteorologists are more accurate than ever. So generally their accuracy, thank you very much, within a 24-hour forecast is 95%.
Yep.
And a 5-day forecast is 75%. So thank you for technology, but also it does take science.
Oh, it does.
So you're reading forecasts and plans and futures, and because of your experience, you can also kind of gather little nuggets and create your own.
Yep, exactly. So we have forecast numerical models, and it's all, again, mathematical equations to figure out where high pressures, low pressures develop, precipitation, how those processes, it's billions in mathematical equations. And I get these models run anywhere between, some of them come out every hour, most of them between 6 to 12 hours out, and I can see 10 days, 15 days out into the future, depending on what model I'm looking at. But it's all in the theory first and foremost, my professor always told me this: don't forget to look out the window.
Right.
You know, I could look at a computer model and be like, oh, it's clear skies. Well, I can clearly look out the window and see we've had a low layer of stratus to form during the overnight hours, and it's not clear. So your forecast can be off as far as that is concerned. But yeah, it's all in theory as far as numerical modeling is concerned. And what I always equate it to is the NCAA bracket. Because literally when I come in and do a 7-day forecast, it's, like the NCAA bracket. Event 1 has to happen for event 2 to happen, for event 3 to happen. So, let's say the NCAA bracket, all of a sudden Duke gets knocked out in the first round, your entire bracket is gone.
Dominoes.
Well, that can happen to me as well in the forecast. If, 24, 36 hours out, the storm doesn't develop, or if it overdevelops or develops 20, 30 miles further offshore, that can then be the domino down the line that messes up my forecast. Or the way flows in the atmosphere, things go from west to east. So if the storm is slow getting into California, which are getting horrible weather, first time in a long time they've had tornadoes out in California yesterday.
In Los Angeles, the first in 70 years or something?
Yep. So if that
storm
storm system is slower moving out from the west coast, then 3, 4, 5, 6 days down the road, it's slower getting to us.
Right.
Same thing when we're talking tropical weather. If that storm doesn't develop out in the central Atlantic as quick, or it gets sheared apart and never recovers, or it runs over an island, if the model didn't include that in there, then that can mess up the rest of the run.
Gotcha.
And so you have to constantly be checking these variables,
Yep.
right? You talked about you get up at 12:45 in the morning and you go into studio pretty early.
Yeah,
right?
usually about severe weather, I'd be in there as early as 2:30. If not a whole lot going on, usually 3 or 3:15 in the morning.
But for you, it's not like you can go in at 2:30, look at all your models, you'd be like, okay, got this figured out for the day, and then just kind of sit back and wait until you go on air.
No,
and,
no,
that's not
definitely
how
not.
it works at all, right? You're
No.
having to check these and make sure that what you expected to happen at 3 a.m. did happen, and if it didn't.
Yep.
then
So
you've gotta alter what you've done.
actually, even when I walk into the studio, the very first thing I do is look at my forecast from the prior day.
Right.
So yesterday I forecasted a high for here in New Bern at the airport at 68 degrees. We only hit 66. So I was 2 points off, 2 degrees off. I like to be within a 3-degree range either side of that, which if you think mathematically speaking, that gives me a 7-degree range,
Right.
3 above the number and then 3 below the number.
Yeah.
So I like to be within a 3-degree range on that. So, okay, a little bit cloud cover was in a little bit quicker yesterday, and that's the reason why we didn't hit that 68 degree that I'd forecasted. But I keep a track of that. And I'm about 95% accurate, I would say. Today we'll see. We've got the low clouds in here. We'll see if I get up to the number that I had forecasted.
That's awesome. Let's go back to the California situation. So it's a mixed blessing. Their
Yes.
reservoirs are empty, and now they're starting to fill up. The heavy snows over in the Rockies and all that, and it's eventually
Yeah,
it's
60
going
feet of snow. One
it's going
place
to
has.
cause obviously some horrible flooding when it starts to melt. But they've also been in such almost a 2-decade drought, right?
Correct.
So again, that mixed blessing, sadly. But tell me about this atmospheric river that keeps pounding them. Where is this coming from? Is this like an El Nino or El Nino? Or
Well, that's part of it.
Okay.
We have been in a La Nina, which
Okay.
is
La
which
Nina.
is the
That's why
colder
he's on the
phase.
green screen, not me.
And going back to my college days, and my professor, one of the first things he said was, you have to think globally to forecast locally. So things that happen in the Pacific Ocean, 5,000, 6,000 miles away at the equator, which is where we measure the above normal or below normal water temperatures, has an impact not only to California, has an impact to us on our winter. That's part of the reason why we really didn't get that cold and haven't had a whole lot of snow for the last couple winters. And then that also carries forward into the hurricane season. So we had a La Nina, which is the cool cycle. It looks like now we will see the warm cycle, the El Nino, take over. And that has major implications as far as heat waves through the southeast U.S. and more importantly into the tropical season.
So if I was to flip open the Farmer's Almanac right now, what would be your closest prediction?
In statistical meteorology, we actually did a study of the Farmer's Almanac. Now, again, you got to be a little generous when you start talking about, in a 3-day chunk somewhere in there's going to be snow or rain or whatever.
Right.
It was about 75% right.
Wow.
So on a longer scale forecast, when you're looking as far as an annual forecast is concerned,
I don't even know what the science is behind that, if any.
it's really climatology.
Yeah.
It's figuring out what the weather patterns are, what the ingredients that go into dictating the weather. Plus, then you go back over a 30 to 40 year history and see, okay, well, if this occurred, then this happened.
You know, you were talking about variables earlier, and Megan was mentioning California as well. Years ago, I lived in Oregon briefly, and it's
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact. Craig lived in Oregon, but you know, grew up in North Carolina. Spent my whole life. When the weather came on, I saw the North Carolina map with a little bit of Virginia, a little bit of South Carolina, a little bit of Tennessee as they would pull out. But living in Oregon, that was the first time I saw the weather. Where it was like, now it's obviously a different geographic location, but 75% of what's on the screen was the Pacific Ocean.
Yes.
And you don't really think about that because living in North Carolina, it's always like what's coming over the mountains or what's been moving across the country for 3
What's
days
training up from
or
South
whatever.
Carolina?
Yeah.
In the Pac Northwest, you're worried about what's going on in Alaska. You're worried about all the way out to Hawaii because of the way the jet stream flows. And
Right.
that's exactly why we have what's going on in California, the atmospheric river, which in meteorology, we have a lot of catch terms that we know and use within the genre of ourselves. And then and I am part of it, the media gets a hold of it, and all of a sudden it's, atmospheric river, Pineapple Express. We had the polar vortex
Yeah.
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
These are things we always have. It's nothing that fancy or special as far as the meteorology is concerned.
Sounds
but
fun, though.
Yeah,
It sounds
and
fun.
that's
Vortex.
it. It's that catchphrase that everybody grabs onto.
Yeah, that's why La Nina and El Nino caught on, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
That was one of the first ones I remember hearing about. That was like, this is a new thing, like a marketed, if you will, weather term, and everybody kind of latched on.
And the funny part about it, scientific-wise, we've known about it since
Of
the
course.
1920s.
Yeah, of course.
We started seeing an anecdotal evidence of Peruvian fishermen that were some years having to go further out into the ocean to catch certain types of fish and certain species of fish versus other years when they were in closer to the coast. So, and then in the 60s, they kind of went back and like, oh, well, wait a minute. Hey, here's this warm pool in the Atlantic. Oh, well, that was over here this time. It's over here this time. And that's where we ended up getting it from.
Yeah, it's because meteorology is scientific and
Yes.
confusing, and we need it to just be like stuff and boiled down and simplified, and so terms like that make it easy for
What
us,
they
right?
always tell us, broadcasting-wise, aim for a 6th grade level.
Yeah, sure. It's true though. I mean,
That's why I got it. No, I'm kidding.
but people, middle schoolers are going to see the weather at some point, maybe not as much as they used to. Now they're going to kind of catch it in different ways. But I mean, certainly when I was in middle school, my parents watched the weather
Yeah.
every day, and that was what we were going to be watching from
Well,
6 to 6:30.
Now Les has a graphic in the morning. It says, "What's less winning?"
Dress
or
for
dress
less.
like less.
Oh, nice.
But this morning he had the ECU Pirates T-shirt on, which was like, game, go on there. We're pirates.
Okay.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about what is it? The National Hurricane Center. Are they the ones that do the predictions? 'Cause
The
that's coming
tropical
up soon,
TPC
right?
Tropical Prediction Center.
But that's coming up soon, right?
It is usually
Not-
about
I always hold my breath.
mid-April to early May is what they do. They put theirs out. I've never been a big fan as far as the actual numbers are concerned. To me, it's more the impact for us here in Eastern North Carolina. I mean, you think about it. You look at a map. We stick out in the middle of the ocean. So, and with the way the Gulf Stream is, the natural tendency for those storms to come up and follow along that. Give me 30 hurricanes that occur west of or east of Bermuda. I don't care.
Your fish storms.
Yes, exactly.
That's another
when they
key
start
one.
to break east of or west of Bermuda, rather, and starting to come towards the East Coast. That's what I'm worried about. And again, Hurricane Andrew in 1992. Only one storm that year that made landfall in the United States. Look what it did to South
Devastating.
Florida.
Yeah. You have, of course, I've watched you for many, many years throughout hurricane season. And tell me if I'm wrong, but do you tend to follow the European model? Like, you like that one a lot?
Yes.
Why?
I will say, though, that the American model has kind of caught up to it a little
Okay.
bit. And a lot of it has to do with the physics and the way that they do the modeling. What happens with the European model is and what way modeling goes is they initialize the atmosphere. So the weather balloons we send up, we still send them up close to 100 places across the United States a day. Very important. I know everybody's making the joke at it would happen. That is the only way
to keep the Air Force up.
That is the only way for us to sample what's going on.
Okay.
100 of those a day, really?
About 100, about 92, I think.
In the U.S. or worldwide?
Twice a day in the United States.
Wow.
So, in fact, we have one here in the National Weather Service in Newport, twice a day. No matter what the weather is, 365 days out of the year, they're sending that balloon up.
That's awesome.
Because that's the only way we have to actually sample the atmosphere. If I want to know what the temperature is at, say, 15,500 feet above our heads here in New Bern, the only way for me to sample that, if I'm not flying an airplane through it, would be to send up a weather balloon.
And then it's sending data back
sending
the whole time?
temperature, pressure, wind speed, wind direction. So all that information then initializes the atmosphere. So this is the snapshot of the atmosphere as of 7 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the evening. And then that then goes into the computer model formulas. So then there's what we call a 0-hour forecast. So the idea is that what you actually observed should match the 0-hour forecast. So that kind of sets your baseline.
Gotcha.
And then from there, you start the mathematical equations to step the atmosphere through.
So I know that you shared some slides or pictures with Zanetta. Is it film or is it pictures?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yep.
So you want to show some of them up there, and we'll share what they are, because I know that you also have a strong connection with the community college from the studio.
Yes.
And not for the studio, but your weather studio. And I'd love for you to be able to share a little bit about that with the audience. So, Zanetta, what you got first on? Oh, there it is. You can turn around and see what they are.
So this was after we obviously we got flooded out with Hurricane Florence in our studio. We had to evacuate. There's see some pictures up here and a little bit what it looked like. Yeah, the bottom one. That's what it looked like at around 7 o'clock that night when we evacuated out. The water was coming up, and that should be our parking lot. You should be able to see that there. So the water was coming up, and then it was about a 2 or 3 hour time period, right around midnight to about 3 a.m. That's when it was its most. We only took about 6 inches of water into the actual studio, but obviously we were without a home for a while. So actually that Friday night, I actually spent the night sleeping up in the library up here. The library was our temporary newsroom for about 2 to 3 week period.
I didn't know you slept there.
Yeah, I slept on one of the benches up there that Friday night before we got to go home. And what you're seeing is about, I think that was Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was, when our morning show actually got back on the air. And we literally had a monitor. I was calling up our weather app, and it was myself and Lauren Arnott standing in the driveway coming into the college here.
And you were able to tap into the Public Radio East, which is the studio we're in now. That was the generator you guys used to have the power.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, it became the hub. I mean, the community hub here. Our fire department, not fire department, the police department showed up. Red Cross showed up. Baptist men showed up.
Yep. Some meals were given out here as well.
So all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, this was the home to Channel 12 for a good while.
Like I said, it was about a 3 or 4 week period before we were able to get back on the property. We had construction trailers. Actually, even our studio was literally underneath a tent for about 2 to 3 week period. We got tired of the mosquitoes, and I started saying, "Hey, it's September. It's going to get cold. Can we get a little bit of warmth going here?"
Yeah.
So finally, they got us some construction trailers. But yeah, we were in that for about a year and a half to 2 years.
Wow. Yeah, I remember the shots from the staircase right below the library. They were very pretty. I mean, I have to say, I know it was a bad time, a bad situation, but it was kind of neat to see.
But yeah, but like I said, we were nomads. We had no place to go because we couldn't get back in.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the college stepped up and allowed us to at least, if nothing else, a little broadcasting, but also more just a newsroom to be able to have a base to be able to operate out of.
And that was part of when we were looking for a new place to have our podcast in our studio, as we saw that this room was underutilized, and if we got into a situation where there was a community emergency, or if Public Radio East needed it, or the college needed it, we'd be able to come in here and be able to broadcast as well to help support the community and share information too.
And we actually have a green screen that we tried earlier. I don't know how successful it is, but I know that you had something you wanted to share.
Well, there is, so the screen is green right now.
The
if Les wants
green.
to go over and see.
So, all right, let me take my headphones off here.
Okay. Now will they be able to hear?
Yeah, I've got a microphone on.
Cool.
Yep. So what you're actually seeing when I'm doing television, I'm literally on TV looking at myself on television. So right now I'm looking at a monitor up to my upper right here, but you'll notice it kind of pointing off, when you're looking at me at home, it looks like I'm pointing off to the left. So it's literally looking into a monitor. So if I want to point right, I actually have to point with my left hand. So right is left, left is right for us here. And you can see this is what I normally do on a daily basis for 3.5 hours in the morning, and then plus News Channel 12 at noon. Is this one's set up a little different, but normally I'd have a television monitor off here to my left and another one off to my right, and I'm judging my gestures. So if you want to hit the animation button there, you'll see my, I believe this is the 7-day forecast. So I'm looking there to judge which place I'm pointing at on the map for us here. So it's like nothing nobody has ever truly done before probably in their life. We have had some Marines that are meteorologists come in and try to duplicate it. And it takes them a little bit of while to get used to doing it. But yeah, it's, you know, this is my home here. I'm comfortable in front of the green screen. But then that also then means I have to be very cautious about what clothes I wear, because anything green, it will show up. So if all of a sudden this ECU pirate sitting there, if I had green on my tie, it would start painting it on that. So it's one of those little things. Most screens are green. I have worked in front of a blue one, which is about the color blue of what the background is there. That was in the early 2000s, and the French blue shirt was very popular. I couldn't wear it. I could not wear it at all because it would have put the map on the front of me here. Go ahead and hit the next graphic on there. The computer that we have is very powerful, and it's a lot of animation that goes into it. So here, one of the explainers I like to do, if you go ahead and hit it, the different types of clouds that you would see, whether they're, you know, high clouds, low clouds like we've got around the area this morning. So this is kind of one of the things we do. But then we also, if you'll hit it again, have another graphic on here that we have created to show how a tornado forms. And what you will notice is there's a lot of different graphics that go into this here. You, again, try to do it for a 6th grade level, but you still have to be able to explain the science. So what I'm trying to show here is you know, a horizontal barrel roll in the atmosphere that then gets lifted up. So anything I can do to help explain that, to get the idea across of this is how a tornado forms, to get that information to you and explain it so that you can visually see it, even though we don't have tornadoes happening around here all that often here in eastern North Carolina. So very powerful. As I always tell everybody, the graphic computer that I have in my weather center, it's like a giant PowerPoint presentation, but it's also probably the most powerful computer graphic-wise that we have in the entire building.
Very good. That was awesome. I love that.
See, feeling at home.
Yeah.
In front of the Chrome key.
Exactly. Thank you for that demonstration.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really just fascinating that you have to show animation. You have to show how things come together so people can actually see it. Because if it's static, you know, of course, the earlier old days where like they literally had like cutouts on a map.
Yeah,
like,
magnetic board is what they call that.
Boards, so we've come a long way from that. But yeah, it's almost like it's really beyond video game quality in a lot of.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. But again, you know, you've got to, and even now we're doing 3D, where I can stand in front of a large green screen and even a green painted floor, and then have things animate. When we started talking about this scientific wise, because that's what we're always trying to do is get the message out. How do we get people to understand when we're talking about obscure ideas like how a tornado forms or, you know, what storm surge is? We know what it looks like here in eastern North Carolina. We experience it in Florence. But how do you get that message for people to act? So the National Weather Service and a couple social psychologists started working with them and trying to show, like, okay, if this is a building, this is where the 1 foot level of storm surge would be. This is where the 4 foot level of storm surge would be. Well, as television people saw that, it was like, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
So we can start to animate it and show where that storm surge water is rising to. And, you know, by the time you hit 3 or 4 feet in some places, you're up past the first floor windows.
I remember seeing that specifically during Florence, and that might have been when you started using it the most. I'm not really sure, but I think that was really helpful in helping people to evacuate and understand that they needed to.
Yep, and that's it.
When you showed like the 11-foot, I looked at everybody. I'm like, 7 days, go pack. I mean,
I sent my family out.
Yeah.
It was one less thing I need to worry about.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, but when you show a house and you can literally see the water going up and up, you can you put yourself in that situation, and then it becomes a little bit more real for you. And then when you're trying to make that decision,
Yep.
you know.
So that's why we use all the graphics that we do, is to get that information across. Of, you know, I can sit there and talk about, oh yeah, the storm will have a lot of heavy rain and maybe 2 or 3 inches of rain, and you know, storm surge in the air, but to actually see it.
Yeah.
Where people can get that visualization. That's the one thing that television, the medium, is good at, is getting that information out there like that.
You know, and not to minimize it, because it's obviously science and it's great technology, but it's also entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially, it's heart-filling when you see other stories like the flooding in California right now and things like that. It's just like, you know, it's shocked because we feel it. We've been there. We've done that.
Yep.
You know, when you see furniture stacked to, 2 stories high down street lines, you know, you're like, ugh, you know, Houston got hit again. You know, that kind of stuff.
One of the best news directors I had, and really what I'm doing is I'm telling a weather story. I mean, that's what it is. I start with, here's what's happening now, tell you what's going to happen the next 3 to 4 days, and then finish with the 7-day or 10-day we had at one point. But you give me 3 elements: people, picture, pace. 2 of 3 of those elements makes a good story. All 3 of those elements makes it an award-winning story.
Very good.
So, and it's the same thing with the weather.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And, you know, we're talking about tropical storms a little bit earlier. Obviously, you know that's a big, important time for you when you're working for the community. Always gets lots of ratings, I'm sure, and people watching. But it's really also about people are scared.
It's safety.
Yeah, people they're looking to you for help and to feel like everything's going to be okay, or what should I do, and things like that. And I just want to thank you and the team for doing that, because it's obvious all of you are all hands on deck whenever there's
absolutely.
tropical storm.
I've worked 24 hours straight.
Yeah,
almost.
I assume there's a rule at the station where a tropical storm comes and you don't get a day off.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody, right?
The interesting part about it is, and this is when we get a lot of new news directors coming in, it's hard for them to realize, you know, with Irene in 2011, I started 7 days out seeing that wave coming off of Africa and stuck with tracking it until it came to us and made landfall. It was the first time I had ever had a landfalling hurricane, 7 o'clock that morning. And my former chief, Skip Waters, walked in and he goes, "You just had a landfalling hurricane. Get out of here. I don't want to see you for another, day and a half or whatever it was." And but it's hard for a news director to understand. I'm in storm mode 3, 4, 5 days out.
Right.
And my wife can see it when I kind of get that glare in my eye. Once the event happens, I'm done. Once my radar goes clear, I'm done. In fact, with Irene, I remember Anna and I were on the air in the early morning hours. Actually, first time I ever fell asleep on the air. It was
really
like
fall asleep on the air?
it was. Long story. I tried to go home years ago. One of my other chiefs at another station I was at, he goes, "Look, you'll sleep better in your own bed at your house than you will trying to sleep on the hard concrete floor at the studio and stuff." So during Irene, after I had landfall, I drove home that morning, got about 2 or 3 hours sleep at the house, turned around, came back in. By that point, it went from storm surge to the wind. All the trees were coming down. By the time I got back to the station, it was, like 6:30, 7 o'clock that night, which I had messed up the then schedule as far as coverage was concerned and all. And, I had to stick it out until 6 o'clock that Sunday morning. Oof. So... I was on the air at 6 o'clock and with very little sleep. And by the time it was 1:15 in the morning, the last little bit of the radar had cleared the northern Outer Banks. And I had nothing. No people were calling in. We had no reporters doing live shots because they were all sleeping and stuff. And it was just Anna Bolshevitz and myself talking. And after a while, I start drooping, and she'd have to say something. I was like, okay, all right, I'll take it for a couple minutes, and then head starts drooping.
Yeah.
And awesome. I physically remember Anna coming over and tapping me to wake me up.
Oh,
that's funny.
That's great. So how many years have you been at the studio now?
At this station, I've been now over 14. I came in January of 2009. But I've been doing weather forecasting on TV for about 25 years. And then even before that, when I was in college, we had our own campus weather service. So about 30 years I've been forecasting.
That's great. Well, you brought up Skip Waters. And, of course, he's a a legend here in
Yep.
this community, and it was just was a fantastic meteorologist, but also a great community member. And shortly after you arrived, I used to see Skip on a regular basis. He would go work out at Courts Plus, and my girls had swim team. So we'd strike up a conversation, and he'd see me from years of parades and tree lightings and that kind of stuff. So we would talk, and I brought you up, and I'm like, he's got these words that come out of his mouth. It's like 50 cent words. I'm not sure I understand them all, you know? And he had such admiration for you. He's like, you know, Megan, he's going to get it. He'll get his groove. And he said, he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met.
Oh, that's
So I had to share that with you.
Him and I, we kind of worked out a relationship. It was like a yin and the yang. The news director that brought us in, I mean, you know, Skip always said he had a retirement day in his head. Never would share it, but he always said he had a retirement day in his head. And, you know, as things evolved between Skip and I mean, you know, second or third day when I came in, the news director looked at him and said, there's your replacement.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the animosity, if you will, that was artificially set up between us. And with myself being a degreed meteorologist and Skip did not have a degree in meteorology.
I did
He
not
was
know
a
that.
pilot that knew about meteorology. Back in the 80s, you could get away with that
Right.
Gotcha.
because the science hadn't quite gotten there yet. But to Skip's credit, he kept up on the education, he's kept up with the technology, and he relied on us younger ones coming in to get him up to speed on it. But with that said, of all the other chiefs I've ever worked with, Skip could take your mind's eye and put it exactly on that street corner, you know, right next to where the old barn was torn down, where so-and-so
Oh, yeah.
used to have
Yeah,
the
yeah.
old station or whatever it was. And that was one trick that I really learned from him was, again, back to the safety and the communication aspect of it of, you know, I can throw ageostrophic circulation out there. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
Right.
Where if I just say, oh, yeah, strong wind's going to come through, you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and you have done a beautiful job with that, taking over that localism.
Yep.
Really have.
Well, and what we found out once Skip died, he died right before Halloween of 2014. And that next year, it was, you know, all these little, like, you know, beauty pageants and little festivals and stuff. He would travel the roadside every single weekend. You know, so the man never stopped.
Right.
And it was, you know, them calling us, hey, you know, Skip always used to do this for us. Are you guys coming out to do it? Or, you know, hey, can you send somebody from the station out there to do it? We had no clue. There was probably over 100 events. We had no clue Skip was doing. But that's why he knew where all those little roadside things were, because
Barbecue
he was
houses
constantly,
and-
he was constantly on the road traveling them every weekend.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, it's obvious, Les, that you have a love for it as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
and-
I wanted to do this probably since I was second or third grade.
Yeah.
I just was somebody told me there was so much math involved.
And you do a lot of going out to the schools.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the things you really enjoy is to go
love
out
it.
into teaching.
Love it. Absolutely love it. To get back, because like I said, I had the bug, as we call it. I had the bug from about second or third grade, kind of like you. It was one of those situations where, you know, my parents watched the news every night. You know, I'd always test them the day before. Or when the next day, well, what was the high yesterday? Well, what's it going to be like today? How am I going to dress?
In our house, it says, "What did Les say this morning?" What did Les say?
Yep, I hear that quite often, actually. And
I have the app too.
they're nice.
Yep, I got those
So
apps.
it was one of those things when I got to high school and it was like, choose the rest of your life. I was like, well, I kind of like weather. I think I'll look into it. I wish somebody would have told me there's calculus and chemistry and physics. And I mean, literally, I'm an atmospheric engineer is what I am, because we treat it just like a viscous fluid. It's water.
So if anybody wants to get into the field, number one, they should be aware that there's going to be a lot of math.
Yes.
But number two, that you can also have a lot of fun with it.
Oh, you can.
Right?
Yes.
And you have to be dyslexic so you can do the right and left opposite on your green screen.
Absolutely. It as I always tell everybody, first and foremost, I'm the scientist. I do have my Bachelor of Science degree in meteorology. Got that from Millersville University in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in 1997. Graduated there. After I went to community college. My family of all of us have gone to a community college. My wife and I went to community colleges up in Maryland. My kids have taken online classes here in Craven County through Craven Community. And then transferred to the 4-year institution. Was a little deficient in math, so it took me a little bit longer to get through there, but I've had Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, order differential equations, physics and chemistry, all that then goes into explaining what the atmosphere
I'm
is.
not sure I understood that third word. What was that? Order or what?
Order of differential equations,
Oh,
ODE.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, it was I still have nightmares to this day with that.
And you truly use those
to an extent.
Yeah.
At the point now in television, because of the models and all that we have, whether it be the models I look at, and then they also are in through our graphic system for me to be able to explain and call them up on air. I don't have to derive things. If somebody put a gun to my head and said right now, derive an equation, here's calculus, derive what's x squared.
You just plug it in your computer.
1x.
Let it do.
Yeah, that's it. That's all I could come up with. But because the science aspect of it and the models using all that science, I have to understand that basis of where it comes from, and then being able to translate from the real high level wording to that 6th grade level for everybody to get and understand.
It's fascinating.
It is.
It's fascinating science.
It is fascinating science.
But then the other aspect of it is, again, I've got the graphics, so I've got to be a part-time graphic artist. Because a lot of those graphics you saw on there, either myself or somebody else in the Weather Center has made and designed for us to be able to get out on the air. Plus, then I'm also part performer. If I talk so fast like this, you have no clue what to say, you probably watch somebody else.
Yeah.
So I got to work on that aspect of it as well.
Well, to plug you can follow Les on Facebook as well. I have one of your badges.
Nice.
A Facebook badge. Yeah. So not
Appreciate it.
not a stalker. I do watch. And of course all of the other broadcasters as well.
Yep,
So,
we're all over, all social media, our app, our website. We're all out there. We've got our own YouTube channels now as well, just like you guys. So, and that's where I see that this media is going to over the next 5 to 10 years. We're the last generation to have what we call linear television.
Right.
The sit-down appointment television to watch 5 o'clock or 5 a.m. in the morning or whatever. It's going to be, because of this, on your own willing, whenever you want it, on demand, you'll pull it to you. So I think that's where the field of broadcasting
so the
is going.
generation that's behind the glass over there in our green studio, they're the ones that don't know the old reader's guide. What was that thing?
Talking about TV Guide?
TV Guide.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Or if your parents didn't pick up the TV Guide, you had to open up the newspaper and you looked on the newspaper to see what was playing.
Yeah. But one thing that is good about the way news is packaged and the way that weather is packaged is that it's already kind of in that time frame of format.
Correct.
Right? It's already packaged right. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get it pushed out to people who want to consume the content. But it's already naturally that bite-sized piece that people want.
Yep.
Right?
And that's why the generation behind us, that Gen Y and Gen Z, that they crave the information. They just want it on their own timetable,
right,
and they want it short and quick. They don't have time to sit down for a half-hour, 45-minute show. It's, you know what, give me a 30 to 45-second, get me hooked, then I'll engage and go find that information if I want. Again, my kids growing up here, I could not get them to watch me, even through middle and high school. I would go talk to their classes, and they'd zone out. They wouldn't have any clue what I'm saying. Like, Dad, what were you talking about today, Dad? Oh, yeah, I don't pay attention.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, we've got some community events to talk about, and we just so grateful for the time that you gave us.
Absolutely.
Because we know that you've got a lot of hats to wear.
That I do.
You've got to go back and do the 12 o'clock.
Yep.
So
Channel 12 at noon.
Yep. And so, but we want to talk about a few things going on.
We do. I just want to make sure, number one, thanks again for coming on the show today.
Not
Les.
a problem. Enjoy it.
Was there anything else you wanted to cover or share with us today before we start covering some community events?
I would say you pretty much hit it as far as, anybody that's interested in the field of meteorology. We are scientists, and anybody, any kind of science they're worried about going into. Math is the language of science. And again, don't discount going to a community college. Like I said, I took basically my first 3 semesters at a community college. So what you guys are doing is fantastic here. As I always tell kids when I go out and they ask me about community college, and I always tell them, look, you go to that Division I school, that the math professor or the English professor, they're passionate about it. They love it. Go to a community college, there's people that like it, but that's not their only life. As that professor in the 4-year institution is. They live on that. They thrive on that. They research it. So don't discount community colleges.
I forgot to bring up one thing. The elephant in the room. We started off with 50s, 60s, 70s. Today's it's going to get to the 80s and potentially tomorrow close to 90.
Yeah, record-setting attempts I got forecasted.
What the heck? I know it's Eastern North Carolina. If you don't like the weather, wait
That's
15
exactly
minutes.
it.
Yeah.
So-
It has been kind of wild lately how much, like, I think it was 2 days ago, it was like ice on the windshield.
Record cold. Tuesday
Yeah.
morning, we had 19 in Kenansville and the record cold of 25 at the airport here in New Bern.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So,
And tomorrow I'll be sweating.
I seriously have to bring 2 jackets to work. I'll wear a heavier one and carry a lighter one.
and it's all because of, again, think globally, the forecast locally. It's what's happening across the globe. We look for things happening in the North Atlantic of the northern Atlantic. We look in the Pacific Ocean, whether it's El Nino or La Nina. We look what's going on in Alaska. We even look at what's going over in the Indian Ocean to be able to foretell what's happening. We look over in Russia, especially with cold air coming across the poles with the polar vortex.
Mm-hmm.
We can see that starting to happen 6 to 8 days before it actually affects us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say this has probably been the most in-the-know, informative day of we've ever had
Yeah,
for World
without a doubt.
Meteorological Day. So
I appreciate
thank you.
it.
It was
Thanks for having
not
me.
just like silly little tidbits and props that I had. It was incredibly scientific and informative, and so grateful for that. So,
Les, is there anything about chia seeds that you need to tell us?
would you like a scoop? Would you give you an ounce for your water?
But here's my whole thing. If it's flavor neutral, why bother other than the nutritional
This is
value?
why I needed the
Nutritional.
equation, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Eat this, not that.
Okay,
I
fair
don't know.
enough.
We'll
If
have
it
to.
has no taste, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'll stick
8
with my
times,
chocolate.
We can throw it up in the air,
And
right?
it's environmentally friendly.
And what did you call them? A meteor.
Yes,
Little
exactly.
meteors.
They're
That's
meteors.
right. That's right.
So,
Chia meteors.
Yeah, but 8 times more omega-3s than salmon. That's pretty impressive.
People will remember chia meteors. Honestly,
Chia meteors.
if meteors are coming down from space, I would rather they be chia meteors
Yes.
that are going to burn up.
Not
than-
little chunk or big
yeah,
chunks.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Not chunky meteors.
Okay, rabbit hole.
I was gonna say, that's where in television we'd be getting the rap cue from our producer at that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, moving on. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Let's wrap it up with some events.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. You want to go first? You want me to?
I'll go.
Okay.
Shrek the Musical, March 24th and 25th, 7:30 to 10 p.m., and March 26th, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Masonic Temple. Join the Rivertown Players for opening night of Shrek the Musical. There will be shows March 10th through 12th, 17th through 19, and 24 to 26. Make room for ogre-sized family fun as the greatest fairy tale never told comes to life in a whole new way with this musical adaptation of the hit movie, Shrek. Tickets can be purchased at rivertownplayers.org.
Whoop whoop. Honk Jr. March 24th and 25th. What?
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop. That's this weekend. It opens up. So in April 1st through and 2nd, and then again, of course, other stuff. So we're just going to keep you on track for this weekend. 7:30 to 10. A Stagehands Theater for Young Audience production. Bring the whole family for a joyful musical celebrating the beginning difference that is sure to delight audiences of any age with its unique charm and memorable score. Hilarious, but also deeply moving, Honk Jr. has equal amounts of laughter and tears. Ugly looks quite a bit different from this darling duckling brother and sister. Other animals on the farm are quick to notice and point this out, despite his mother's protective flapping, feeling rather foul. God, who wrote this? Eli? Foul about them himself, and a little foul finds himself on an adventure of self-discovery, all the while unknowingly outwitting a very hungry cat. Along the way, Ugly meets a whole flock of unique characters and finds out being different is not a bad thing to be. Tickets can be purchased at newberncivictheater.org. And just a little throwback, this hasn't been done since Eli's older brother, Caleb, played the daddy. I know you were in it, and you also played a duckling, right? And so was Michaela was a duckling, and Brianna was the mama. So,
That's so
family
cute.
affair. That was the beginning of Caleb always wearing tights. It seemed like he was always in tights. Anyway, moving on.
I haven't seen it.
It's a wonderful show.
Yeah,
it's absolutely wonderful.
I hope to see it this weekend.
Makes me happy.
Hallowed Ground Lantern Tour. You laughing at me?
No,
March
I
24th
wasn't.
and 25th, 6 to 9 p.m. at the New Bern Battlefield Park. Enjoy a guided walk by lantern light along the wooded trails of Battlefield Park and hear firsthand the moving stories of real characters who found themselves in New Bern in 1862. Not a battlefield tour or a program about the Civil War. These are poignant human stories of their experiences, largely based on letters, diaries, and contemporaneous accounts.
Contemporaneous. You didn't see that one coming, did you?
I didn't, but I handled it.
Very good. So this is another one, actually. A lot of the same actors that were in the Ghost Tour are also in this one, including my oldest daughter.
Have you been to the Battlefield Park?
I have. I've walked the trails many times.
Good.
Yeah. It's dog friendly and it's running friendly.
Yeah, I've run out there a couple of times.
Yeah. So we actually talked about this morning, the thing, and I said, hey, honey, just so you know, Les said it was going to be 90 degrees on Friday. She goes, can't wait to be all in black outside with a hoop skirt. And the costumes are gorgeous, guys. So if you have, please, go ahead and make time to go see that.
There's a lot of shade out there, too.
There is. Oh, absolutely. And it'll cool down by then. We got a spring concert coming up March 28th from 7 to 8, Grover C. Fields. Join the Craven Community Concert Band at Grover C. Fields Middle School Auditorium for an evening of spirited and motivating music. As local performers come together to perform, music will be a mix of well-known songs to inspire classics. This concert is free and open to the public, so it is open seating, so we recommend that you get there a little bit early.
And this Saturday, March 25th, it's Hazardous Waste Collection Event.
Now I'm gonna laugh at you.
Yeah, so this is on our campus here at Craven Community College. It'll be behind Oringer Hall. Spring is here, and the Coastal Environmental Partnership is here to help you with your spring cleaning. You can bring your hazardous waste to Craven Community College for free disposal. Accepted materials include cooking oil, chia seeds, just kidding, drain openers, batteries, automotive fluids, pesticides, paint, and paint thinners. 10-gallon max.
I don't know. This kind of looks like toxic waste. Globe, 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 globe.
No.
Look at it.
It doesn't behave naturally. You could probably use that to show how a tornado works, right?
I tried. She's got it too full, and I tried spinning it. That looked really funny on camera. Sorry,
keep doing that. Keep doing that.
And I just spit. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Well, you know what, guys? This has, like I said, has been a fabulous day. We have gotten a lot of information. So grateful for Les's visit with us. He has snuck out of the office or the studio because he's got to get back to the office. And but do you have anything to share before we head out?
No, I don't think
Anything
so.
last minute? Zanetta, anything? No? All right. Well, good. Well, listen, I want you to join me again. So please go live when we go live again on Facebook. So go to facebook.com/CravenCC or catch the replay on YouTube channel. And next week, we're going to have Trevor Donnell from the Sun Journal, and he will be joining me. Unfortunately, you'll be out of the area, so I'll be flying solo.
Yep, I'll be in Florida.
You trust me?
Well, it doesn't matter. You're going to be just fine.
Yes. So come join us next week, March 30th, 9 a.m. for our episode 44. So that is all I have for today. Anything else that you can think of?
No, that should be a fun show, too. I think he's going to be able to share a few special things that are happening at the Sun Journal.
Yeah, they got some new changes going on. So I'm looking forward to hear it from the horse's mouth.
That's right.
Yep. That's awesome. Well, guys, that's it for us. We will see you next week. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Take care. Bye.
Bye, everybody.